Thanks for all your comments on Twitter. Chris Archer says there's no way I'm turning this off to watch MasterChef. Quite right too. Can we expect a World Series, says Hilary Howe? Maybe the Shard, the Empire State, the Burj Al Khalifa. It surely would get more interesting.
Well, there is a World Series, but it's slightly ill-defined at the moment. There's a number of tall structures around the world. I think, didn't we see the figure of about 140 different events in which you can score points in around the world?
If you've got a tower, get a race. Kirsty McGlatchy says, my favourite bit of this Eiffel Tower thing are the two commentators making us... Well, thank you, Kirsty. Hoping we're keeping it at least...
funny you should say that, because Scott Cameron says, couch-ridden for 2 days with the flu. I hope it's not man flu. And this is the best thing I've seen on TV. Scott, you obviously don't get a very good signal where you live. But nonetheless, that is some shot, isn't it?
Yeah. Stephen says, I'm loving the Stairmaster Championships. What are you drinking?
Yeah, mine's a half. Gin and tonic.
Oh, dear. Matt David says, compliments, of course. Martin de Matteis, 8:40, a proper time.
Now, Loisel, just 4 seconds worse than that, so that is interesting. He's done 8:44, but that's going to take some braking from Matteis of Italy. And you know, I was talking earlier about possibly the equivalent of this on a track being 3,000 metres. 8:40, funnily enough, Colton, for 3,000 metres on a track, 7.5 laps, is a very, very solid club standard performance. I mean, it's world class for a lady, put it like that. So it's just a minute quicker than Susie Walsham of Australia.
Miriam Moreau comes across the line and actually she's got to get past that line.
I was going to say,
he's there now.
Clock
stopped. Well, there's medics here, and the Minutemen are just starting to come thick and fast.
But you would expect to see this, you know, from the fitter athletes, the super elite, which we're getting into now, these last 15, 18 athletes. You would expect to see them more able to give 100% than less fit. You know, it's a fact, I'm afraid, that if they're extreme elite athletes, they will train very, very hard, probably 3 times a week, to the point almost of collapse. And so they've exercised that muscle, so to speak.
Napoleon Wu. I wonder if that's his original
name. That's a cracking name.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Napoleon C. Wu.
Yes.
Of Canada.
Well, we'll see if Wu can blow them apart.
That's Nikolov of Bulgaria, too. He's a Kirill Nikolov, who has given absolutely everything. And of course, extreme levels of lactate give you a bad headache as well, Carlton. So that's what all of these guys are suffering from, I think.
Napoleon Wu, it's choppy at the bit, as you saw, and going for it. He's not a bad runner at this. He does stair races out of Canada a lot, and he was the winner at the Trump Park in Stamford. Now, I've yet to look at the Trump Park in Stamford. I imagine that was a sort of race around the park. But he is apparently a stair racer, so watch out for Napoleon.
We just saw Benjamin Bellamy, the member of the French team since 1912. Second in the French mountain running championships that year.
Brad Campbell's watching this while eating his breakfast in Australia. He says he might need another coffee. Well, it's not a banned substance, Brad, but yeah. There we are. That is the Flamme Rouge, or what else would you call it up here? The Flamme Métallique. Lod Bodzinski is on course right now, and pretty handy as well as old Lodbod. He won the Hong Kong ICC vertical run. He didn't. He was in 3rd place.
But he's also the Tower Running World Cup champion from last year, Lobodzinski. So he, I'm sure, will go quicker than the 8:40 mark set by Martin de Matteis of Italy, which is the fastest so far. By the way, Keith Downey says the Downey family are claiming Corin Beavan as an adopted Scot. His New Zealand, Scottish and Dutch friends are also shouting at the screen. So hello, folks, and I hope you're enjoying this as we see. Is that number 20 come through there? Cedric Fleureton.
This is Hostiner.
Pardon? Hausleitner.
Yes, sorry, Hausleitner. I was mixing him up with his
You're saying Steiner, you're thinking of beer already, aren't you?
Yes, I am, frankly. I'm reaching for one, but there's nothing there. He's from Austria, and he's the tower running champion of Austria. Do they have many towers in Austria?
They've got plenty of hills.
9th place in the Skyrun Messerturm in Frankfurt. That is one of the big banking buildings, by the way. So 9th place there, getting a top 10, clearly puts him amongst the favourites today. I think this is Napoleon.
This is Napoleon Wu, yes, the Canadian winner at the Trump Park in Stamford, and setting a nice steady rhythm. I think that's probably the key to getting a good time, is getting into a steady rhythm and not surging at the start, not trying to decelerate at the finish, but just keeping a nice, steady, metronomic tempo going throughout the entire race. Number 10, that's Norbert Lechner of Austria, who has had 9 men to go after him, does Norbert Lechner. And he is an ISOSTAR Team Austria member, China World Summit Wing Hotel Vertical Run champion in 2014. Actually not champion, he was in 7th place in 12 minutes 18, so it's obviously a bit taller than this one.
The Wing Hotel?
The China World Summit Wing Hotel Vertical Run of 2014. That's the longest name for any event I've ever had to read out.
Here's Stefan Schlett.
Yes, it is indeed.
He's quite heavy of foot, I'll give him that. I like the way he's put some sort of aero covers on his running shoes here, just in case the aero would make any difference.
Well, Stefan Schlett of Germany has gone off 12th from last, and this man will be chasing him.
James Cassell says we're all supporting Napoleon Wu just because he's got the best name of the night. You obviously missed Frank Ferrari earlier on.
Hold on, here's Corin Beavan. We've had lots of information coming through from him about him from Keith Downey and all around the place. So let's see how Corin goes here. He goes off wearing number 9 after him. Unfortunately, the Slovakian Thomas Jelko comes after him, and he's a bit of a hot favourite, so we'll see how he goes with chasing Beavan.
Corin Beavan, Stair, Lobodzinski is at 7:50. Paul Halford has been teed up for an interview. They're sort of waiting with bated breath, so I imagine the split times are pretty handy, which will be good.
Well, Piotr Lobodzinski, the quickest time so far, 7:50. So again, my 3,000 metres analogy or equation kind of works out, because that is getting very tasty. It's pushing down into international class for 3,000 metres on the track at time of 7 minutes 50.
Here comes Urban Zema. No need for a frame for him. He's going for it, the Italian. Only Christian Riedel to go last.
Do you think he's a country boy?
I've no idea.
Urban. Come on. Goodness me. Do you know it's like commentating with an amateur?
Well, it's mixed abilities, both in front of and behind the mic.
But this is Angel Lorenzafra, who did go very, very fast indeed, and he certainly slowed a little bit.
There we are. What distance is the Eiffel Tower race, please? In fact, we need to spin back and fill people in with the info. It's 1,665 steps, which is one more than the famous beer, frankly. It's 100 metres, by the way, from foot to foot. What's the total distance they're doing tonight, Tim?
The total distance, 906 feet of vertical climb, 279 metres, that is, and this is part of the 8th edition of the Eco Trail of the Paris, encouraging use of the French capital's green areas, essentially.
Hausleitner has not crossed the line. Does he know?
He must have crossed a match somewhere. I hope he has, because he's losing time otherwise. But look how his quads are pumped up. I know he's a big lad, but that's what it does to you. Those are the two principal muscle groups you're using, and they just inflate with blood massively. It's like if you go to the gym and pump up, which I'm sure you do occasionally, Carlson, and just make your shoulders look good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what else can I possibly do? Paul Halford waiting for him still. He's been teed up and ready. I presume he's just getting his puff back. And here's Paul! Speak to us, Paul.